Welcome back. Welcome back to the second half of the Places, everybody, places. Okay, I have a somewhat checkered history with Elizabeth Scott. Some of you may know, some of you have even been kind enough to bring a copy for me to sign. My first book on film noir, Dark City, The Lost World of Film Noir, had as its cover that scene that you just saw in Dead Reckoning in the car, where she pulls the 45 on Bogart, was the cover of that book. And I write a little bit about Elizabeth Scott and her background in the book. It sort of parallels what they say about Coral Chandler in the movie. Her real name was Emma Matza, and she was from Scranton, Pennsylvania. And I always feel a little sorry for her because she was like Sterling Hayden or Tab Hunter, someone that I know very well, kind of plucked out of nowhere and told, you're going to be the next big thing. So she was a model and then discovered and became this protege of producer Hal Wallace for a number of reasons, if you believe the stories that you've heard. And in my book, I talk about the indelible impression that she made in these movies, while also, this is a quote, saying that no one would ever mistake her for a good actress. Which was the line that officially got me barred from ever actually interviewing Liz Scott in person. Because when I first started doing these festivals down in Hollywood, she had a handler, this wonderful guy named Marvin Page, who was like gatekeeper to the old Hollywood stars. And although Marvin and I eventually became pretty good friends, he never forgave me for saying that about Elizabeth Scott, or for putting in the book a lot of the stories about her career and how she had been, her career had effectively been derailed by Confidential magazine that sort of outed her as one of the big lesbians in Hollywood. And whether this was true or not, who knows? I mean, Liz denied it literally to her dying day, which was only recently. It was only last year that she lived into her 90s. But, I know people who worked in publicity for Paramount, and you just say the name Liz Scott, and the first thing they would say is, boy, did we have to get her out of some spots. So believe what you want to believe. But one thing that I know for certain is that in this movie, she was playing the Mary Astor role from the Maltese Falcon. And tomorrow night, I'm sure you cineasts in the audience know that Dead Reckoning is completely a mix of the Maltese Falcon and Gilda kind of stuck together. You could see that that was meant for Rita Hayworth. And they were trying to get that kind of tropical vibe and the casino and everything. And Bogart was just doing the Sam Spade stuff completely in this film. But tomorrow night is a special case because you actually get to see Elizabeth Scott and Mary Astor, the original Bridget O'Shaughnessy, in a movie together, playing mother and daughter. Okay, now, this doesn't give you any indication as to how bizarre Desert Fury actually is. I say unequivocally it is the gayest film ever made in the golden age of Hollywood, and you sort of have to see it to believe it. And I'm not quite sure that the people who produced the movie, or many of the people who saw the movie, had any idea what was actually going on in this film, but I can guarantee you that the people who made the film and who wrote the film, and some of the people who performed in the film, were very, very well aware of what was going on. So that's a you have to see it to believe it kind of movie. And if you haven't seen Desert Fury, it's the only Technicolor film that we're showing in this series, and it is jaw-dropping, the cinematography. And it's part of this evening of honoring Edith Head, costume designer Edith Head, who does absolutely spectacular work in that film, and the outfits that Liz Scott and Mary Astor wear, not to mention John Hodiak, Wendell Corey, and Burt Lancaster, are absolutely tremendous. And it'll be great fun because we will have Seattle's own Vince and Rosemary Keenan here, who have just written the novel Designed for Dying, in which Edith Head solves crimes in 1930s Hollywood. It's tremendous fun. So they will be here to sort of co-host the evening with me. We'll be showing Desert Fury and Sorry Wrong Number, where Barbara Stanwyck wears those one Edith Head gown the whole night. Okay, the film you're about to see. As you know, the premise of this festival was A pictures teamed with B pictures. You are about to see, oh man, are you about to see a genuine B picture? Made at Columbia. If you were here on opening night and saw I Wake Up Screaming, the guy who was the second in command to the crazy detective Ed Cornell, played by Laird Cregar, this guy who was his lieutenant, was played by an actor named William Gargan. And William Gargan is, in fact, the star of the movie that you're about to see. This is a common theme in Noir City. You see these character actors return again and again. Very often, they're in exactly the same role. That was called typecasting. And guess what? William Gargan plays the cop in this movie, just like he did in I Wake Up Screaming. But he is co-starred with an actress who was kind of made a splash at Columbia in the mid-40s. Her name is Janice Carter. I can only describe her as a long, tall drink of water, which is exactly the character she played in these films. Very statuesque, very dangerous woman in these movies. But there's something very special about Night Editor. It's about as far as a B film would go in depicting kind of a really hot, perverse sexual relationship between a man and a woman in a film, as you will see in this movie. The other night when we showed Dr. Broadway, I explained that that was an aborted attempt at a series of films. Night Editor is the very same thing. Columbia took this very successful radio show called The Night Editor and decided we'll turn this into movies. Didn't work. This is the only one that they ever made, and that explains why it has this weird bookending device where it starts in a newspaper office with the night editor telling a story, the moral of the story to be revealed at the end. And of course, this framing device has absolutely nothing to do with the story that you are then told, although it does have a nice little finish at the very end. But again, it's one of these things, I love the obscurities because the director, Henry Levin, is not somebody who is known for film noir at all, but this script landed in his lap and he did a really nice job with it. And it is just as perverse as it got on movie screens in 1946. There was a woman here with her 14-year-old son earlier, and she said, should we let him stay and see this movie? And I had to laugh because it's like, it's a movie from 1946, you know? And you have a TV at your house? Yeah, don't watch the Republican National Convention. God, no. You'll learn bad things. So anyway, enjoy this, the fantastic Night Editor.